Was it understanding? Was it understanding persuasion, or was it the basics of persuasive writing? What was the last thing that we remember talking about? Okay. So if we're not sure, we'll do a quick revision lesson today, and we'll talk about a few things from the first couple of lessons, and then we'll narrow in on what we remember. So the first thing that I want to ask you guys is, who remembers what persuasion is? Who can remember how we persuade people? Jack.
And when we persuade people, we convince them by good reason.
Very good. So persuasion is convincing people to believe an idea or take some kind of action using the good reasons. Very good. So persuasion is convincing people to either believe an idea or to take some kind of action by using the good reasons why. And our other little tip that I gave you was speak to people's self-interest. So tell them what they are going to get out of agreeing with you or by doing what you want them to do. So if we tell them that, then we have a lot better chance of getting them to go along with it. Very good. So who can remember now? What was my question going to be? Who can remember any of the persuasive techniques that we watched in that video that I sent you guys a link for in the class? So these techniques, I'll send you guys a link for the video now, and we'll all just watch it again, because this really is going to be, like, these are going to be like some of the most important things that you'll learn. About persuasive writing. Because if you can learn to use these techniques, then your persuasive writing will get very, very good very, very quickly. So if everybody watches this video now, it's about 7 minutes long. I'll see you all in 7 minutes time. So watch the video, take notes, and yeah, take as many notes as you can about this video. And I'll see you all in 7 minutes. Okay, so that should have been enough time to watch that video and take down a few notes. I'm just going to ask a few of you, which of those techniques you found the most interesting and why? So can I start with Hoi Fook, please? So on that video that you just watched, which of the techniques did you find the most interesting? So which of those techniques did you find the most interesting on that video? Okay, let's try somebody else. Thank you, Hui. Let's try Toi Duong. Which of the techniques in this video did you find the most interesting? Anybody? Jack, how about you?
The techniques that I found the most interest is the rhetorical question.
Very good. And what did you like about the rhetorical question?
The rhetorical question is the question that is so obvious that it does not need to answer.
Very good. So it's something that we use to try and get the person reading to think about what we've written. Well done, Jack. Thank you very much. Stefan, which technique did you find interesting?
The technique that I find interesting me that is the emotive word.
The emotive words. And what did you find interesting about the emotive words?
What I found that interesting because the emotive word are words that make the uh, the people that are hearing us telling a story that make people sad, happy, or angry, so they will remember the word that we said to them.
Very good. So using people's or trying to play with people's emotion to get them to remember our message. Very good, Stefan. Thank you. And Mary, how about you? What was a technique that you found interesting?
I think that is evidence.
Evidence, very good. And what did you find so interesting about the evidence?
Like when you try a pencil writing and you give some evidence, so the reader can be can be more believe in you.
Very good. So we use evidence to make our writing more believable. Very good, Mary. So fantastic. It seems like we remember the stuff that we covered in lesson 1. So very good, guys. Let's go over some of the stuff that we learned in lesson 2. So I'm going to share this document with you. So the main thing that we learned from our second lesson were the key elements of persuasive writing, or the most important things that we need to include in our persuasive writing. So the first thing, my stylus here. So the first thing that we learned, or the first part that we know that we need, is our statement of position. And this is where we tell the audience what we are writing about. So this is really where we answer the question, what are we trying to persuade our audience of? So that's number one. And number two, we have reasons. So we need to give our reasons to support our position. So we need to make sure that our reasons are logical and strong. So I was teaching a class about this the other day, and we were discussing possible arguments for school should start 1 hour later. And I remember reading this reason that I'd prepared before the class, and they were talking about strong reasons and weak reasons. And the weak reason was just something silly like, I just want to sleep in more. And I thought to myself, well, that's not going to convince anybody of anything, because it's just like a short, not thought out, selfish reason. But then the strong reason that was prepared was more along the lines of, it provided a lot of evidence of the benefits of letting children sleep a little bit later, and just some really interesting information. And yeah, I just found that really interesting how you can argue the same point in two very different ways. So our reasons need to be very strong. They need to convince people. So number three, we have evidence. So this can include facts, statistics, examples, or anecdotes. And anecdotes, that's just a word that means personal stories. So has anything happened to you before that relates to this topic that you're trying to write about now? And if you have stories, then they can make for some great evidence in persuasive writing. And the purpose of the evidence is to make our, what's the word I'm looking for? To make our arguments more convincing. And finally, we need a conclusion. And a conclusion is where we restate our position. So we remind the audience what we're trying to persuade them of. And we just remind them of all of the really good reasons that we have for our point of view. And depending on the type of writing you're doing, you might include a call to action, which is a simple sentence that tells your readers to do something. So I'll go over this example piece of persuasive writing, because it breaks it down by section, what we're actually writing about. So first of all, we have our statement of position. So this is letting our audience know what we are writing about. So it's just plain and simply, we should have a pet in our classroom. So really straight to the point, short sentence, we can all understand it. Next up, we have our first reason. So a classroom pet can teach us responsibility. So now we're telling the audience why our idea is a good idea. And then we go on to provide evidence. So taking care of a pet requires feeding, cleaning, and attending to its needs, which are all aspects of responsibility. So we're further mentioning the responsibility in our evidence and telling the teacher exactly what we'd be learning that is a part of responsibility. We include another reason as well, sometimes. Interacting with pets has been shown to reduce stress and anxiety. And then we go on to give them some evidence for our second reason, something that helps them believe what we're saying. Several studies suggest that the presence of pets can help lower stress levels. And finally, we have our conclusion here. In conclusion, having a classroom pet has numerous benefits for us, from teaching responsibility to providing emotional comfort. Let's discuss this idea with our teacher. So, our conclusion here, the point of this is simply to just restate our point of view. So having a classroom pet. So we've mentioned that straight away. And we've mentioned the benefits that it can have for everybody in the classroom. So what is good about this idea? From teaching responsibility to providing emotional comfort. So we see here, where's reason one? So we've got reason one here, restating reason one there. And then we go on with reason two. We see it quoted there. And finally, we have a call to action that I mentioned. So let's discuss this idea with our teacher. So it's telling everybody to not just think about this idea, it's telling people, let's do this, let's talk to our teacher. And that is a call to action. So what I'd like to do now is show you a couple of pieces of persuasive writing and get you to break it all down for me. Which part of which part of the persuasive writing is each section of this piece of writing? I'll share my screen. Okay. So, first of all, who knows what this point here is called? It wasn't listed in our key sections, but this piece of writing has it. Can anybody tell me what this is called? Jack.
Is it the title?
Very good. So this is the title of our piece of writing. Very well done. And what about this? Does anybody know what this is? Another one of our trick questions. Anna?
I think it is a letter and words.
Pardon?
I think it's a letter.
It is a letter. The whole piece of writing is a letter. Very good. But this line here, Jack, I think I saw you had your hand up. What is this?
I think it is the rhetorical question.
Very good. Because it's a question that is so obvious that we don't really need to answer it. Every day we look forward to our recess time, right? Well, yeah, we do. So it gets you interested in the piece of writing and gets you to keep reading. So next, what do we have here? What part of the piece of writing is this? Just this section here. Mary?
Maybe it's a statement, sentence.
Very good. So this is our statement of position. So this lets us know, or this lets the audience know what we're trying to persuade them of. So I believe that our class should have a longer recess. And then what about this section here? What's this called? Mary?
It's a reason.
Very good. This is one of our reasons. Fantastic. Now this right here, what is that? Can anybody tell me what that is? It's kind of similar to something that we've already listed, but just slightly different. So this one, I'll give you the answer because it is a little bit cheeky of me to ask, but this is a rhetorical statement. It's something that doesn't need an answer to it, because after all, everybody needs a break. Well, yeah, we do. It's just designed to keep your interest and keep you reading the piece of writing. So what do we call this part here? Jack?
I think it is the evidence.
Very well done. It is the evidence. So next up, this line here, I'll give you a hint. It actually combines two parts of the persuasive writing. So what do we think are the two parts here. Mary.
It's a reason. Again.
Very good. So it's the reason. And what else is it? This part here in particular.
Example.
So it's the reason, and what else is it? Jack.
It's the evidence.
Very good. Because we're listing an example of something that we can do with our extra free time. We could have more time for our favorite outdoor games. So that's actually combining evidence into the reason. And finally, what is this last bit here? Mary.
It's a conclusion.
Very good. Now, this conclusion here sums up our, so yeah, this conclusion here actually has, it does three main jobs. Number one, it sums up our main idea, so why we should have an extended recess time. Isn't it a great idea to extend our recess? So that's number one. Number two, it's a rhetorical question. So isn't it a great idea to extend our recess? Yeah, it is. Don't even need to think about it. You just, yeah, straight away. And finally, it's a call to action. So let's propose this to our teacher. It's not just, isn't this a good idea, everybody? It's, let's actually go and do something about this and try and get this changed. Let's do something. Let's talk to our teacher. So that's a call to action. Well done, guys. We've got one more example to have a look at. Okay, so this second one here, why our classroom should go green. This is one on environmental, on making the classroom become more environmentally friendly. So let's start at the top. What have we got here? Jim.
It is the title.
Very good. Thank you. That is our title. And what do we have here? I'll ask Jim again because his hand's still up. Jack.
It is the rhetorical question.
Very good. Rhetorical question. And what about this bit here? Mary.
It's a statement.
Very good. It is our statement of position. Excuse me. So yeah, so it's our statement of position. It lets the reader know what we're talking about. I believe it's time for our classroom to go green. And here we have several parts in one paragraph here. So first of all, what is this? Mary.
Let's say a reason.
Very good. That is our reason. And what is this second bit here? Jack.
It is the evidence.
Very good. That's evidence. So we're using some examples and some facts here. So by listing off the skills that we can learn, so we can learn how to recycle, save energy, and reduce waste. So that's giving examples. Which is a form of evidence. And then we go on to the second sentence. Did you know that many schools, that's a fact. So they're using examples and a fact as their evidence. So here we go here. Another reason is that a green classroom is healthier. What have we got there? What have we got in this part here? We have a reason. And what about this next part here? What's that? Any ideas, guys? This part here, what's that? Mary.
Maybe it's the evidence.
Very good. That's more evidence. Well done. Very good. And now we have our final part here. What do we call this? Jack.
It is the conclusion.
Very good. Okay. Now, this conclusion, just to point this out, we actually have 3 different techniques being used here. So number 1, we've got Rhetorical
Question.
question. Very good.
Funny.
Number 2, we actually have emotive words because of this word right here. So the simpler way to have asked that would have just been to say, wouldn't a green classroom be a good change? Wouldn't it be good to start helping the environment a little bit? But they took it a step further and used the word wonderful, because when you hear the word wonderful, it just paints this really nice picture in your head, and it can be very persuasive to use words like that. So emotive words. And finally, number 3, we have our call to action. So we see here that even though this is just a short, without any of these notes, this just looks like a nice short little piece of writing about why our classroom should go green. But if you actually break it down and have a look at it, you can actually see a lot of different elements that go into creating this piece of writing. And it's fascinating to, once you really start to learn how our brains understand all of this stuff, it's really interesting. So do we have any questions about the stuff that we've gone over today? Do we have any questions? Okay. Very good. Oh, someone's got a question? What happened to Stefan? Did you fall into a tar pit or something, Stefan? What happened?
I don't know.
Maybe your camera's just gone a bit funny. Okay. So yeah, guys, do we have any questions about what we've spoken about today? Very good. So I'm going to talk to Miss Duck, and we're going to figure out what's happening with this class. But I'll set your homework now. So your homework is to look at, actually, I'm going to type it in the chat box so you guys can write it down.
Do you have class after this?
Yep.
Okay, 10 o'clock.
Okay, so your homework for today is to look up, research, and read examples of persuasive writing so you can start to understand the type of language that they use. Examples of persuasive writing is advertisements, opinion articles from newspapers and websites, songs and poems, love letters, and watch a few videos of debaters delivering their arguments. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday. So study some of those different types of persuasive writing. And yeah, just get used to the kind of language that they use, because it is actually very different to how we normally would communicate with each other. So great job today, guys, with revising some of the stuff we'd covered. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye, teacher. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, teacher.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, teacher.
Goodbye, everybody.
The next one.